Yeah, here we go now, baby. Right back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Before You Bet. You're live right now on the Covers YouTube and X channels. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like and subscribe button right down there. So great big show coming up for you guys today. Professional sports bettor Hitman will be by in a matter of seconds to dig into some futures markets and take a look at his best bets for week 11. Second half of the show, Jon Metler will be here. NBA Cup kicks off tonight. I think we have, 7 total bets between the two of us for the NBA here tonight. So 2-0 in the NBA for me last night. 3-2 overall. I hit my prop in the Monday night football game, but I couldn't have been more wrong with my assessment for the game. So I took the over and I took the Rams. And I told you guys, no one knows the Dolphins better than I do. They do not show up for these primetime games. And what do? They go on the road as an underdog, Monday Night Football, and they won the game. Did they deserve to win the game? Did they play their best? Not at all. That was very, very ugly. But I also told you guys that the Dolphins helmet that has been off my mantle for probably about a month, 5 weeks now, would go back up. So that's how we're going to kick off the show today. Dolphins, second place in the AFC East. A couple easy games coming up. They're not out of it. They're back in it, and so am I. So goodbye, Penguins. Be careful here. And the Dolphins. I'm back into the mix here. How's that look? You can see here the ball perfectly in place. Let's go Dolphins. First comment. Where is the Dolphins helmet? There it is. It will be removed, though, if they do something stupid. If they lose to the Raiders on Sunday, it's coming back down. But let's go Dolphins. Second place, ahead of the Jets in the AFC East. All right, enough Dolphins talk, unless Hitman wants to talk about them. Let's bring in our guy, professional sports bettor, Hitman. How we doing, buddy?
Good. Yeah. Dolphins talk. I was a little concerned with some of the decisions Tua was making last night.
You didn't like when he torpedoed head first, trying to take out the.
There was that. There was multiple. Like he played a really reckless game. So I don't know. Maybe some Tua interception props we look at. He's going to be a high variance player. I'm also a little worried that Tyreek Hill. I don't think he's going to be 100% the whole year. Like this is going to be something he's probably going to need surgery on at the end of the year. So even though the Dolphins got the win, left that game a little concerned, but mostly about the Hill stuff, to be honest.
Okay, so Hitman bring me back down to earth here regarding my Miami Dolphins. So yeah,
I still have them as an above average team. Like despite their 3-6, like they're still slightly above average, but it's going to be tough to make up that ground.
Yeah, I think Bradley Chubb is due back, so that'll be a decent boost for them. Yeah, but they're going to have to win some games that they probably shouldn't. Last night, the Rams just handed that to them. It's concerning with the Rams here because they have these games where they just flat out don't show up. You assume they were going to get going at some point last night. They did not. They had a game earlier in the season in Arizona where they just didn't show up. So a bit of a concern there for them. But that was a Monday nighter. It wasn't pretty. There was some ugly football played here in Week 10. What were your biggest takeaways of the week here, Hitman, from the week that was?
I would say my biggest takeaway was just how freaking bad some of these teams are and like what the gap is compared to previous years on some of these bad teams. Like I could name double-digit teams. The Titans, Jags, Raiders, Patriots, Dallas, Bears, Saints, Giants, Panthers. Like there's so many bad teams right now. And as I said, the difference between like even like average teams and bad teams is huge right now in the league. So probably my biggest takeaway was just that there's a lot of bad football going on right now. And like I know like Tom Brady's one of like the biggest advocates about it, saying like, yeah, there's no OTAs no more. There's not as many practices anymore. Like there's just a lot of bad football being played, and it feels like that right now.
Yeah, a lot of bad coaching, a lot of bad quarterback play, and it's on full display here every week in the NFL. It's unfortunate. Okay, so that's your biggest takeaway from the week. So some of these races heating up a little bit. Some teams are clearly out of it, but we also have these award markets. Some things are heating up there. Anything stand out to you there from a betting perspective?
Yeah, I'll give one. I thought Dan Campbell, Coach of the Year, might stand out a little bit. I think it's in like the 5-1-ish range right now. And I know typically that this award does not go to coaches who had high expectations coming into the year, but it could possibly be just like I don't want to say lifetime achievement award, but just like a achievement award for the turnaround overall that he's had for this Detroit Lions franchise. And I think that it's one thing that's important is you want to kind of time this stuff right. Like if you remember last year, like Stefanski was the or who won Coach of the Year last year? Was it Ryan?
Won it.
Stefanski won it,
yeah.
But there was a lot of steam on D'Amico Ryans towards the end. I remember he was like 8-1, and people were pointing to the one schedule spot, saying like, "Oh, he plays the Colts in prime time to win the division if he wins that game." And Ryans ended up, I believe it closed, like he might have been the favorite or it was like close to pick up something like that. So like you really want to time these awards markets. And Campbell does have that game in San Francisco, week 17, primetime game. That could be, and it's probably a game that, Detroit maybe pick them right now that game ends up being. If they do win that game and it's the game that clinches them home field advantage or whatever, that could be the moment that the media says, all right, Dan Campbell did the best job this year. So I would lean towards, if I had anything, I would lean towards Campbell 5-1.
Okay, speaking of the Detroit Lions, I want to take a look at NFC conference winner futures. If you look at the AFC, I'll start there actually. You have three teams. It's fairly tight at the top. Chiefs are right around plus 180 to win the conference. Ravens plus 270. Then you have the Bills plus 380. Then you have a big drop off to the Steelers, who are 12-1. But if you look at the NFC, the Lions are favored in the plus 190 range. Then you have not a significant drop off, but a bigger drop off than you have in the AFC. You go from Lions plus 190 way down to plus 400 for Philly. The 49ers still hang around plus 450. Then a big drop off to the Vikings, 11-1. Now everyone, including myself, is penciling the Lions into the Super Bowl. But outside of them in the NFC, any team worth a bet at the current numbers?
I ran the simulation on this with my power ratings, rest of season schedule, all that. And the team that I came out with value on is the team, which is funny. It's the only team that I bet before the season to win the AFC or the NFC, and I still have value on them. It was the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe they're at 5-1 right now at BetMGM. I made that fair number plus 414. Philadelphia is kind of morphing into the team that I thought they were going to be before the year. I thought that this offensive talent was up there with the best teams in the league. I mean, there is no clear weakness. You have a quarterback, you have the skill position guys, you have the offensive line, and now it's the defense with Vic Fangio that has just improved immensely. Specifically, the secondary just looks so much better for the Eagles this season. So I have the Eagles in my power ratings just slightly below Detroit and San Francisco. Obviously, the Eagles are in a better point in the standings than San Francisco right now, more likely to have home games in the playoffs, all that good stuff. So, I came out to the Eagles 5-1 as having value. I was high on them before the year, and I think that my opinion on them is coming to fruition.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. They get to train back on the tracks for some ugly stuff earlier in the season. Two brand new coordinators, and they are both appear to be figuring things out. Good looking game on Thursday night against the Commanders. Okay, so going into week 11 here, let's get a sense of what's on your radar from a player prop betting perspective. Of course, none of these things are up yet, but we know when they start to drop, you're going to be looking for something specific. So what's on your mind here?
I believe last week I talked about the Saints firing their coach and like some changes that teams tend to make when they have a new coach and everything. Wasn't a ton of changes with the Saints, as I spoke about. Like, they still have the same play caller with Clint Kubiak, but there's a team this week that has a new play caller, and that is the Chicago Bears, now firing Shane Waldron and moving on to Thomas Brown. I have not done work or even read much about what possible changes could be made. I think that theoretically, one of the biggest changes that they should probably make is getting the ball out of Caleb Williams' hands as fast as possible, whether that means something for like a completions market, if he has a low average depth of target and they just focus on throwing more screens, throwing more quick stuff. I don't know. And then you got to think about the players that haven't been getting the ball. DJ Moore has not been getting the ball. Cole Kmet has been frustrated with this offense. So anytime there's a coordinator change, I'm looking to see what the possible changes are. So Chicago is going to be a team that I am going to be doing some extra work on this week to think about what changes they might make.
Okay, so keeping some tabs on the Bears. Everyone will be keeping tabs on the game of the week, maybe the game of the year. The Kansas City Chiefs putting their undefeated record on the line going into Buffalo. And I want to get your thoughts on the spread here. Plus 2.5 with the Chiefs as the underdog. Do you agree with that number?
I agree that they should be the underdog. I do think that 2.5 right now, considering the Bills' injuries to their skill position core, I want to see how that shakes up. Like, if Amari Cooper's not in this game and Dalton Kincaid's not in this game, we know Keon Coleman's not going to be in it. It's maybe a little bit expensive for a team that's down all their guys. So I would probably lean to the Chiefs at 2.5. I don't know where this number goes. It can't get to 3. If it gets to 3, Kansas City is going to get bet immediately. Can it get to maybe Buffalo minus 1-ish? I could see it if some of the injuries are bad. So my initial lean is towards Kansas City. And if you are interested in Buffalo, just wait, because it's not getting to 3, in my opinion. If it does get to 3, it's going to get bought back quickly. So, yeah, that would be my opinion on that. Just maybe looking at Kansas City, but nothing strong at the moment.
So you got to love Chiefs up to plus 8.5 on a teaser ticket, right?
Yes. Yeah, you know what? I wasn't even thinking of that. Yes.
You can lock it in right after the show here.
Yep, we like that.
Okay, so from one of the best games of the week, one of the best games, or the best game of the week, and one of the best games of the season, to one of the ugliest games we can possibly make in the NFL. Let's get into your best bets of the week. We're going to start things off in New Orleans with the Browns in town. The Saints are favored by 1. You're going to go with the underdog. You like the Browns to cover the number.
Yeah. Hashtag wrong team favored in this game, in my opinion. I thought that Cleveland should be a favorite in this game. It's just really about how bad the Saints are. And I think that the market is not fully capturing it because they beat Atlanta last week. That was one of the flukiest wins of the season. The Saints defense, once again, they fired Dennis Allen. Well, the defense still sucks. They allowed 500 yards of offense to the Atlanta Falcons. They had a 37% success rate on offense and allowed a 53% success rate on defense. That was the biggest gap of the entire week, even bigger than the Jets-Cardinals game, to just give it some context. There was 2 bombs to Marquez Valdez-Scantling against a pass rush deficient team. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I believe, had 2 or 3 touchdowns in his 2-year tenure with Patrick Mahomes. I don't believe it's sustainable that he's going to continue doing this with the New Orleans Saints as their wide receiver 1, a guy that just got cut by the Buffalo Bills 3 weeks ago. Derek Carr is susceptible to pressure, makes this difference. An opponent substantial, considering the Falcons cannot rush the passer. The Browns, that is one of their strengths, even without Zadarius Smith. It's the healthiest Cleveland have been all year. And as I said, I'm just really down on the Saints roster. So I think Cleveland should be the favorite in this game. Give me the Browns.
Okay, more on how down you are on the Saints roster momentarily, but let's take a look at another spread bet that you like this week. You like those Falcons to at least bounce back and cover, small spread +2 in Denver, and you like them to make it a game.
Yeah, I think that the Falcons also could be a good teaser leg with Kansas City, which you
Ooh, there
just
we
spoke
go.
about earlier. Yeah, Atlanta had a dominant performance against the Saints. It just did not show up on the scoreboard. Denver, obviously, they deserve to win that game against the Chiefs, or at least be close. There was some red zone stuff where the Chiefs failed in the red zone that gave Denver a chance, but it was a pretty evenly played game. So they've been upgraded. But remember, this is a team that just is a week away off of getting at their doors absolutely blown off against Baltimore. I still don't know. Still have them as a below average team, Joe. Like they've been upgraded, but I'm just still not sold that this team can just keep the defense, could keep carrying them. Yes, Bo Nix is better than what we thought, but I'm still not sold on this Denver offense. And I just have a tough time getting to the point where we're saying these teams are rated equal, which is what the spread is essentially indicating at 2.5 right now. So, yeah, I think Atlanta was just a little bit of value on them this week, but I do think that teaser with Kansas City is a good play as well.
Okay, so you've talked about the Saints the past couple of weeks about how down you are on them. You just talked about it, and you're so down on them, in fact, that you're going to take the under on their updated over-under win total. It's at 6.5. So lay into them a little bit more for us here.
Yeah, I mean, most of the points I made in the Browns game applies to this season win under. I like this one quite a bit. This is it's a bad football team, and I'll bet against them going 4-3 the rest of the way. And like when I saw that they had to go 4-3, like the first thing I do is I look at their schedule and say, well, it's got to be a really easy strength of schedule. It's not that easy, to be honest. Like they got some games like Cleveland this week and the Giants, and there was another bad team in there, but like the Giants are, in my numbers, are just slightly worse than the Saints. Like these are, and then they have some other really tough. They have some other tough matchups in this schedule as well. I just think when you look at the roster, like this is one of the worst offensive lines in the league. This is arguably the worst skill position players from wide receiver to tight end, and it's a bottom 5 defense right now. Like I'm just really low on the Saints. So, yeah, I'll bet against them going 500 the rest of the way.
The Saints stink. So let me ask you, you say you watch, you don't miss anything in the NFL. Were you up bright and early to watch Panthers Giants on Sunday morning in Germany?
I make sure for every overseas game, it's 9:30 Eastern. The alarm is set for 8 a.m. That's right when the inactives come out. So first thing I'm doing, see inactives. Like I'm grinding like the Tommy Tremble is inactive in this game. Oh, we got to bet Jatavion Sanders over props, and Jonathan Brooks is inactive. Let's get the Chuba Hubbard over props. I was up. I was grinding. I watched the whole game. I was live betting. I lost on Daniel Jones live unders because I was playing the handicap that he was going to get benched. Possibly. He got me right at the end. But yes, I was up and I was grinding this game. Any football game is better than no football.
Hell yeah. Love to hear it. So before you go, what type of setup do you have for the games? I got a classic 2 TV setup. I usually have one on the red zone, then one on the marquee game. Sometimes my Dolphins. What do you do?
Perfect. I got the one red zone. I got the one quad box that has the games that I have the most money on. And I have the laptop set. I'm standing behind the desk like I am now, and I got a few screens up. Got everything. I got like two TV screens to 2 computer screens. We're grinding on NFL Sundays. It's a long 15-hour, 16-hour day.
A true command center. People come into my house and they think I'm nuts. Like, what the hell is he doing with all these screens? But absolutely love it. That's how to best enjoy the game and how to best follow your bets as well. Okay, Hitman, we'll leave it at that. We'll let you go pound the Chiefs on a teaser with the Falcons maybe, and we'll wish you good luck with your bets and your handicap in the rest of the week, and we'll catch you again next Tuesday.
Let's do it. Thanks, Joe.
Yes, sir. The man right there. Okay. Now we're on to the NBA. A couple sweaty ones for me last night. 2-0 with those. I know the Nets covered by the hook. I think the Clippers might have been a point and a hook for me, but all wins kind of the same. 2-0 last night. Let's try to do it again here tonight. Then if we're talking NBA, we're talking it with our NBA betting experts, the ass man, Jon Metler. What's up, buddy?
NBA Cup. Bring on the NBA Cup. I know we're going to get some crazy courts too. I've seen a couple on Twitter. I think the Sixers have like a very blue one, but we'll see. I like the NBA Cup.
Yeah, the NBA Cup. It's fun. It adds some stakes to these sometimes meaningless regular season games. I think that some of the teams at least take it seriously. We saw that last season. Hopefully that carries in to this season. So we got that kicking off tonight, and potentially, maybe it should be the return of Joel Embiid. The suspension is up. If he does return, should be versus they're playing the Knicks tonight. What would be your expectations for Embiid tonight?
His props are sitting lower. Like, last year he'd been like a points prop. It would have been like 32.5, 30 in that range. It's 25.5. So they're not expecting big minutes either. Probably looking at like 25, between 25 and 30 minutes. The 76ers, of all teams with NBA Cup, I can tell you they're probably the one that cares the absolute least. They don't care about, he doesn't care about awards. They've said this. Their goal is get this guy healthy, get in the playoffs, win an NBA championship. So are they going to push minutes because it's the NBA Cup? No, I don't think so.
First round playoff exit loading for the Philadelphia 76ers. You heard it here first. Okay, so we got a lot to get into here. You have 4 props. I have a total and 2 spreads. Why don't you get us started with my favorite player? In my script here, usually I'll write down the guy's name and what the bet is. I just wrote clowns. Break this one down for us.
Karl Anthony Towns, over 2.5 assists, sitting at plus 130 now. So this is kind of related to Joel Embiid playing. Again, I put it expected to play because the suspension is up, but who knows? I'm hoping he's ramped up and ready to go. But when you look at so they played a playoff series last year, and when Embiid's a great defender. He's a great rim protector. When he was guarding Hartenstein, he was really backed off, right? And you do any good superstar player in the NBA, you want to make them guard. So, I mean, Hartenstein's a good player, but Towns makes him guard. Towns makes him come out. You got to guard the 3-point line, especially since this is potentially his first game of the year. I mean, if I'm the Knicks, I want to make him move his feet and stuff. So I just do think Towns will be involved heavily offensively he's always involved offensively, but I just do think you could see a lot of dribble handoff actions and things like that get a guard going downhill and trying to attack Embiid in space and get him out to that 3-point line and make him move his feet. I mean, it's his first game. I do think too, if you're the Knicks, when you're talking about teams that value the NBA Cup, I feel like they're a team that probably would. Tom Thibodeau is not a coach who's afraid to push minutes. And if there's something more on the line, and especially if it's taking out the Philadelphia 76ers and putting them in a big hole with a point differential, I could see them just keep going. They are on a front and a back-to-back, so that does kind of matter here. But, I mean, it's Tom Thibodeau. I don't think he really cares if it's front and a back-to-back or not. I mean, he just pushes minutes with these guys. So I feel like they would kind of value that. I just think they're going to go at Embiid. They're going to make him move his feet. So I went Towns over 2.5 assists plus 130.
Okay, for my first bet, we're going to go to Boston, where the Atlanta Hawks are in 10, and where I will be betting the over 224. Pretty low for Atlanta Hawks game. So check out the Hawks here this season. 9-2 to the over. Their games are averaging 237.7 combined points. This is the lowest total for a Hawks game since the season opener. Somewhat of a low number for a Celtics game as well. You might say, what gives? Why such a low number? Then you'll see, hey, well, Trae Young's out. So how are the Hawks going to score? The Hawks have plenty of scoring options outside of Trae Young. Pretty good scoring depth for them, actually. They have 7 other players aside from Young that average double-digit points here this season. Boston is probably going to do the lion's share of the work here to get over this number, and they're going to light the Hawks up from three-point land. The Hawks have the worst three-point defense in the NBA, both in terms of threes allowed per game and opponent three-point percentage. Nobody shoots more threes than the Celtics, so we're going to go over 224 there tonight. Next up, Bradley Beal on the court. He's going to have to pick up some slack with Kevin Durant out for the Suns. What do you like for Beal tonight?
Exactly that. Bradley Beal over 3.5 assists, minus 125. This is a assist prop I've kind of been watching, and it's fallen. He's gone under 4 straight games. It's fallen from 4.5 to 3.5. But the interesting part about that fall is, this was happening while Kevin Durant was in the lineup. So it's coming down. You would obviously there's going to be more usage available to Bradley Beal, Devin Booker. So it's not only has it fallen, but Kevin Durant's now out of the lineup. Like he was going under when Kevin Durant was in the lineup. And even when you look at his numbers, the potential assists are kind of there for Bradley Beal. They're just not converting. So there's a lot at play here. I do really like the matchup. Again, another team where they probably have their sights set on winning the NBA Cup. They're a team that can win it. So like in terms of like the minutes side of things, I mean, that angle plays for some teams. It doesn't play for everyone. Like obviously some teams know they're not going to push minutes trying to win the NBA Cup. They know they're not going to win. He's playing the Utah Jazz. Their perimeter defense is not good. Their guards can't guard. So Bradley Beal will be able to get to wherever he wants on the court. The thing you do kind of like against the matchup with the Jazz from a guard for Bradley Beal is when he gets in the lane, Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, they can block shots. So they can at least disrupt enough to force a pass. And the Suns are looking to find 3-point shooters and things like that. I just think this is way too low. I don't think it's really accounting for the fact that Durant is gone. It's just fallen because he keeps going under. So I'm going over 3.5 assists minus 125.
Okay, more on the Suns momentarily, but first, let's talk a little bit of Charlotte Hornets to cover as an 8-point underdog. Let's go against Johnny's Orlando Magic. I faded the Magic in the season opener, and that did not go well. Hopefully this one does, but you dig into the stats since Paulo Banchero went out, and these teams are neck and neck in many important statistical categories, yet we have the Hornets here +8. You look up and down the Hornets game logs. Yes, they get stomped versus good teams. The Celtics and the T-Wolves both crushed them here recently, but they hang out with everybody else. Wins over teams like the Pacers, Pistons, Raptors, Rockets, keeping things close versus teams like the 76ers and the Atlanta Hawks. And a little bit of defensive momentum here for the Hornets. They had a good week defensively last week, 3rd in defensive rating over their last 3 games. So I think potentially they can keep the scoring down. Magic, a pretty good defensive team in their own right. So maybe a low-scoring, tight game here. We'll take the Hornets to cover that +8 number. And then we will go and look at the Draymond Green marquee game tonight with the Dallas Mavericks visiting the Warriors.
Yeah, Klay Thompson returning to Golden State there. So we got
I hope he gets booed off the court.
They're giving out sailor hats for like.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
So, anyways, it's Draymond Green over 5.5 assists +106. This is kind of more of like a sneaky play here because Draymond Green, if you go back last year, the Warriors went in the in-season tournament. They had a game against the Kings, and they kind of found themselves in this point differential mess. Well, tonight they play tonight, and they don't play till Friday. So to me, this is a great spot if you're looking at Warriors props or Draymond Green specifically, where I think you could see them get minutes and you could see them be that team that kind of maybe does try to chase a point differential because, they don't play till Friday. Their next game is another in-season tournament game. So you like that. I did like with the matchup with the Mavericks, your concern for an assist prop. They got good rim protection. Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. Derek Lively hasn't been playing. He's questionable. PJ Washington, who also is one of their better defenders, is also questionable. So if those two guys are out, it's a much softer interior for creating assists. Draymond Green, you want Dwight Powell in the game. If you watch Canada, you'll understand more why that. He's not a good rim protector, so that helps. I mean, Draymond Green, there's no ball-dominant player in this Warriors lineup. So it's not like, Steph Curry's not like a give me the ball, I'm going to dribble all over the place things. They need someone to create. And Draymond Green with Kuminga and Wiggins, last game, I think he had 11 dimes. You go watch, they're for like dunks. There's like 5 assists where it's like he's just involved in an action and he hits someone on the backdoor for those are high value potential assists. I really, really like this one. I think the projection's too low for the miss considering the spot.
Okay, last but not least for me, and then one more prop from John. I'm going to take the Phoenix Suns to cover. They're a 4-point favorite in Utah, taking on the Jazz here. Enormous statistical gap between these teams. Utah is dead last in net rating, dead last in offensive rating, last in turnover percentage. This is just a bad team here. The big edge, John pointed to this, is going to come from three-point land. This is a Suns team that ranks 5th in threes per game, taking on a Utah team that's 26th in threes allowed. plenty of motivation here for the Suns, who are 8-2 this season. They're coming off just their second loss of the season in their most recent game. Plus, you have some NBA Cup implications. And yes, I do know Kevin Durant not playing tonight. That's why the spread is only down here at this number. So, yeah, we'll take the Suns to cover, bounce back, take care of business, get a W, and win by 5 or more points. Okay, bring it home for us. Miles Bridges or McCall Bridges?
McCall Bridges.
I got to start putting down first names. In my script, I just said Bridges.
McCall
Okay,
Bridges.
yes.
We're going for the Knicks. So BYB points prop. I gave out 2 yesterday. Cam Thomas didn't get there. Chris Paul did. Cam Thomas gets a pass because he made the shot to cover Joe's spread there on the Nets and banged a 3 at the end there. I'm going McCall Bridges over 14.5 points. So this was sitting at 13.5. It steamed pretty good considering the projection and where the juice is. There's still a bunch of 13.5 out there. It's like minus 130. You may as well go up to 14.5 and play the plus money because the projection is pretty far over. The one thing I do really like here is, I was talking about making Embiid move his feet, making him guard. With Karl-Anthony Towns and McCall Bridges, I think you could see actions. It'll be a Jalen Brunson too, but he's a really good in that mid-range. So if he catches that dribble handoff from Karl-Anthony Towns, he's someone who can, go right at Embiid and then stop and pop if he's playing drop coverage. The other angle too is, I don't know, if you go way back, obviously the math is there. You just kind of do like when there's like that narrative angle too. He was drafted by the 76ers. He went to Villanova, this is like their hometown. This is where he's from. I think his mom worked in the front office. I don't know. It was really weird. But they traded him to the Suns. So he thought he was going to the 76ers, and then they ended up trading him. Yeah. So he's back with the 76ers. So you kind of have that in play too. Obviously, there's a little motivation. I just think this point total is too low. You have the narrative. Same thing with Tom Thibodeau. Once again, I think if he has the chance, he'll push minutes. So I'm going over 14.5 for McCall Bridges.
Yeah, a little bit of a revenge game angle there, perhaps. So, yeah, good-looking night in the NBA. Dell weighing in. Any concern with Melton taking the starting spot over from Buddy Hield on Draymond? Assists, not as much catch and shoot. Any thoughts on that, Metler, or is it not that deep?
Melton's still like a good 3-point shooter. Draymond Green does usually come in and play, I think, like 5-6 minutes and comes out and then comes back with the subs. What I really do like is more the Kuminga, Wiggins. Like he's involved with Gary Payton. He's involved with a lot of actions there where he's setting a screen or he's passing it off and everyone's chasing Curry. And then he's finding like the backdoor cutter where nobody's paying attention to those guys. That's they did a lot of that on the weekend there. And with Lively out, potentially out and stuff, that's the angle I was chasing. It's more the minutes, but Melton had a good game on the weekend there. So it's kind of Buddy Hield is the guy who does help assist. That's for sure.
I don't know how you do it with these assist props. I know it's your bread and butter, but for me, it's the most infuriating things when you take the guy over on his assists and he dishes it out to a guy wide open in the corner, brick, air ball. That tends to happen when I bet these, but that's something that you absolutely do incorporate into your handicapping. So hopefully we can put together a winning night here.
It's one of those, it's frustrating, but it also creates a lot of spots where the price moves. So like a guy will have 10 assists and he only gets 2 actual assists. Then the price moves because the box score says 2 and you're like, no, there's way more to that. So it's kind of goes both ways. You get burned sometimes where you're like, I should have won, but it also creates a lot of good prices you can take advantage of. So it's also kind of why I like it. It's weird.
Yeah. So is that the number one stat that you look at every day? Potential assist?
Not always. Like combination of like minutes. Like minutes is always the most important. Like what's going to keep them on the floor. Because the easiest way to explain that is a game goes to overtime, everyone goes over. So even just everyone getting 5 extra minutes, that typically does push everyone over their totals. So if you can just find spots where you think someone might play a little bit more minutes, that's a big one. But yeah, potential assists. Those are, when you see potential assists, that's where people really get hidden, where it's like, this guy is, and Bradley Beal's honestly one of those guys right now where it's like he's last 4 games where I think he's gone under is like 8 potential assists, but 2 actual assists. Yeah. So it's there, it's just not happening. So it's a combination of the both.
Okay, we shall leave it at that, John. Quick recap of the picks here. Hawks, Celtics over 224. Hornets +8 and Suns -3.5. That's over at BetMGM, by the way, the 3.5 on the Suns. Metler went with Karl-Anthony Towns over 2.5 assists. Bradley Beal over 3.5 assists. Draymond over 5.5. And McCall Bridges over 14.5 points, a little bit of plus money. Okay, so we're going to be right back with you guys tomorrow. Jon Middlecoff will be here for his weekly appearance, breaking down all things NFL. We'll get his thoughts on if the Dolphins can get back into things here. I'm guessing he's going to say no to that. And then Jon Metler will be back as well. We're going to be breaking down our best bets for the NBA. So make sure you tune into that. Thank you to both of my guests for joining today. Thank you, producer Mick. What a fantastic job he did today. Thank you to BetMGM for sponsoring the show. And thank you to all of our great viewers for tuning in today. Best of luck with your bets. We'll catch you guys again tomorrow. Let's go, Dolphins. Woo!